In today's lesson, we're going to learn about two-digit by two-digit multiplication. There's a few different ways to do this, so I'm just going to start by showing you two of them. So the first one, I've got two numbers here, and that are both two-digit numbers, and I want to multiply them together. So this is sort of the classic math algorithm, and I'll show you how to do that. So first of all, it's easier if you pretend that it's not actually two digits. It's just two separate one-digit numbers. So, for example, that is just 42 times 3. So I'm just going to use the blue here for now just to demonstrate this. So if I start off and I have 3 times 2, well, that will give me 6. And next, if I go into the tens column of the 42, and I times 3 times the 4 here, that gives me 12. Now remember that this 4 is not actually 4, it's 40. The digit is 4, but the number itself is actually, the value of the number is 40 because it's in the tens column. So that's why I wrote the number starting in the tens column and then carried the 1 up into the next column. Now, that becomes important for our second number, and I'm going to do that in red just so that we can follow what's going on here. So, this digit 6 is not actually worth 6, it's worth 60 because it's in the tens column, right? So it's 63, not 63. So we're not actually putting any numbers into the ones column from this. So we're actually just going to put a placeholder here, which is the number 0. Because there's going to be no numbers in the ones column when we're multiplying the 60. So we have to put that 0 in there. Next, we're going to multiply 6 times 2. Again, remember this is in the tens column, that's why it's here. But 6 times 2 is 12. So I'm going to put the 2 there, but I can't actually put the 1 here, like 12, like I did up here. The reason for that is because I still haven't dealt with this 4 up here. So instead of putting it here, I'm just going to take that 1 and put it up on top of the 4. And we'll get to that in a second. Now we've got to multiply the 6 by the 4. And 6 times 4 is 24. Now this is where this 1 comes back, is because there's one extra 10 to add on. So actually we're gonna, instead of it being 24, we're actually gonna make it 25 because we're adding that one extra number on there. So I'll write the 5 down, and then I would carry the 2 up here, but there's nothing left, so I can put the 2 right there. Now, once I have these two numbers, so we know that 3 times 42 is 126, and 60 times 42 is 2,520. So what we have to do now is actually add these numbers together. So 6 plus 0 is simply 6. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 5 is 6. And 2 plus nothing is 2. Again, if we had have had two numbers that had have added up to something bigger than 10, we could have just carried that 1 to the next column over. We didn't have it in this circumstance. So we've got our number, 2,646. Now, there's another way to do this that some people find easier, some people find more challenging, so I wanted to show you both. So instead now we've got this 2 by 2 window frame, or a window frame with 4 spaces in it. And we're going to use our numbers here, but we're going to write them a little bit differently. So remember how I said that the 4 was in the tens column, so it actually represented 40? Well, we're actually just going to write 40 instead. And then on this one, we're going to write our 2. Now on this side, same thing. We're going to write our 60, because the 6 represents 60 in this case, and the 3, because the 3 only represents 3. I'm going to start at this bottom left corner just because it's the easiest multiplication. So 2 times 3 gives us 6. So I'll just write a 6 in this window, and that's that. That's nice and easy. Now I'll move across. If I had 3 times 40, well, 3 times 4 we know is 12. So I'm going to write that 12 in. And then because this is in the tens column, we basically just have to keep that 0 on the end. So we're basically just going to add on however many zeros are left on the end, or however many 10 placements basically are left on the end. So instead of that being 12, it's actually 120 because we're timesing 3 times 40. If you had 3 groups of 40, you would have 120. Now let's go up here. It's the same thing with this box here. So if we have 6 times 2, again that's going to equal 12. But in our case, we want to have 60 times 2, which is again going to be 120, because 6 times 2 is 12. With that leftover 0, gives us 120. And now we're finally on to our last and most challenging box. So this one we have 60 times 40. Again, it's easier just to think of it by its first digits. You're always just going to have one digit on the front, and then you might have some zeros after it. So let's just worry about the first digits for right now. So 6 times 4 is 24. Now, see how we've got both these zeros left over? Well, actually, both those zeros need to be included, because this one represents 10, and that one also represents 10. And when you times 10 by 10 together, that gives you 100. So that's why we've got 2400, or 2400. Now we've got these 4 numbers. What do we do with them? Well, similar to what we did over here, we just add them up. So we start off by writing down 2400, and we add that by 120. Oh, I didn't put my things in the right spot. We add that by 120. Now, if you want to, you can just add it by 120 and get your answer, and then continue on after that. I like to do them all at once just because it's a little bit faster, but either way works. So if you prefer to do it in a few different steps, that's fine too. So in this case, we've got 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0, plus 6 will give us 6. And as I was mentioning earlier, it's very important to have these in nice, clean columns. That way it doesn't get confusing. So 0 plus 2 plus 2 is 4. And 4 plus 1 plus 1 is going to give us 6. And 2 plus nothing is going to give us 2. So as you can see, our numbers here and over here are the exact same. So either way will get you the right answer. It's just whichever one you're more comfortable using. I hope this has been useful. Thank you.